Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 347. Hello, Trail Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. You're in for such a treat. This is a very interesting episode. Before we get to it, though, I want to tell you some exciting news. Recently, Learn True Health hired a transcriptionist. So now the episodes that are posted, that are published on learntruehealth.com, instead of having show notes like we have had in the past, you will have the entire transcript of this episode. So when you go to share the podcast with your friends and family, you can find the episode once it's up and published at learntruehealth.com. You can take that episode and share it with your friends and family. And even the friends that you have that don't listen to podcasts, they can read the transcript of the entire interview. How exciting is that? It'll also make it easier for you to use the search function on the website. As you know, we have over 346 now. This is episode 347, so we have 347 episodes available and counting at the Learn True Health website. And you can use the search function to type in everything you're interested in: thyroid, autoimmune, weight loss, vaccines, herbs, essential oils. I mean, the list goes on and on, parasite cleanses. And so as things come up in your life and you're interested in learning more about them, you can type it, what you're interested in learning more about, in the search box at Learn True Health, learntruehealth.com. And since now we're transcribing all the interviews, you will have the ability to search greatly through the website to find exactly what you're looking for. And also it'll be easier for you to share it with those you love. I know some of the listeners have told me, I definitely share these episodes, and I want the information to come across to those I love, but some of my friends or family don't listen. They're not listeners. They don't like to listen to podcasts. And so this now will solve that problem, because those who don't listen can always read. Also, I've had listeners tell me that they'll often listen to an episode 2 or 3 times because they're taking notes about what the doctor said, what the health expert, the different recipes or tools or the different steps that the guest has shared with us. And so now this is going to save you a lot of time, because when a guest says something very interesting that is meaningful to you and to your health journey, you can make note of the timestamp in the episode. And then once we have it published, the entire episode with the transcript published on our site, learntruehealth.com, you'll be able to go there and read it. So it'll have the timestamp when each guest said what they said, along with what they said. I'm so thrilled that we could bring you this powerful resource to help you transform your health along your holistic health journey as you're learning how to achieve true health. Another powerful resource you may not know I already offer is a free doctor course. I got together with some of my favorite naturopaths and we filmed a course together. It's 100% free, and it gives you some powerful tools to build a strong foundation of health. You can go to learntruehealth.com and see in the menu where it says free doctor course and just click there. Or you can go to freedoctorcourse.com. That is the website I created, so it would be easy for people to remember. freedoctorcourse.com. Type in your email address, and every day for 7 days I send you a video by a different doctor, naturopathic physician, giving you wonderful health information to build a strong foundation for your health. These are fun, actionable steps. It's like a workshop. It's like a week-long workshop that you get. So go to learntruehealth.com and explore the wonderful resources that we've created for you. My mission is to help everyone, to help over 1 million people and counting to achieve their true potential, to transform their lives and have the absolute best experience in their body possible. please come join our Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, Learn True Health, just search Learn True Health in Facebook, or you can go to learntruehealth.com/group, which will direct you to the Facebook group. It's a wonderfully active community of listeners that support each other along our health journey. So I'd love to see you there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a listener. And hey, you know what? As you're reading the show notes of the new episodes with the full transcript of each interview, please make sure you visit all the way down to the very bottom of the page, because we turned comments on our blog, and you can let me know what you thought of the episode. I think that'd be really cool to hear from you. Awesome. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day and enjoy today's interview. Well, we are in for such a treat today. We have with us Leigh Mercree. She has some very interesting things to teach us. You know, we cover all forms of holistic health on this show, and I love it when we get a little bit woo-woo because it's always when we bring in things, for me, when I bring in things like essential oils and rituals and prayer and meditation and these things that help us to optimize our spiritual health, our energetic health, help us to know ourselves and give us a sense of purpose, allow us to gain clarity in our life. And Amy has some wonderful tools that she's going to share with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Now, your website is amyleighmarcree.com, and of course, the link to everything you do is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntruehealth.com. Amy, I'd love to start by learning more about you. What set you on this path to want to learn and then teach meditation, essential oils, rituals, using healing crystals? What happened that made you get really excited about not only applying them in your life, but helping others?
It's a great question. I was kind of a different kind of a kid to begin with. So I was always a little bit in tune with the natural world and able to perhaps see energy that probably lots of children do see, but that stayed with me. So I had some intuitive gifts to begin with. And then when I was 18, while I was in college, I began to take yoga and learn about meditation and also study shamanism and eventually connect with the woman who became my medicine teacher. So while I was in college, I was also apprenticing with a medicine woman. So then when I was 23, after college, I began my career as what I now call a medical intuitive. So I've been doing that for 18 years. And it's all an out picturing of what I come to with my clients and the many years of self-study after my medicine apprenticeship and all the things I've learned from my clients and my work with nature and intuition, all of that out picturing to all the books I write or love notes for my clients, whether they're my first book, Spiritual Girl's Guide to Dating, all the way through to all my books about mindfulness and meditation, essential oils, compassion, all of that. So that's kind of what started me on my path. And I still work as a medical intuitive, and then I also teach classes in lots of different modalities, including how to meet your guides, work with your guides, different forms of shamanism, different medical intuitive practices and protocols that are proprietary that I've created over the years. And I'm kind of an idea factory, so I'm just always creating new ideas, new books, and moving everything forward, and kind of a student of life.
So what happened in your early life? Was there an aha moment? Was there, can you take us back to that pivotal moment that had you want to pursue this as a career?
Sure. I don't think it was a specific aha moment as far as childhood side of things. Intuition and seeing energy and things like that were just normal to me. And there was a point when I realized maybe everybody else perhaps didn't see the way I did. And so the sort of shifting point moment for me was when I think I was 18. I might have still been 17 because I was 17 when I graduated high school. And I took a Reiki class because my mom's friend was interested in it. So we all took it. And, Reiki is, I ended up becoming a Reiki master teacher and all of that afterwards. But Reiki is basically the transfer of universal life force. And so that was kind of the pivotal moment that did start me down that path. And then soon after, I took a beginning workshop on shamanism with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. And in that workshop, we partnered. It was kind of interesting because there were a lot of aha moments. And we partnered with somebody, and the woman I partnered with said you really need to explore past lives and gave me the name of someone she knew in her town, which was a few hours away, not too far, that she thought did that. And that person actually ended up becoming my medicine teacher and did a lot more than past lives and kind of trained me in Native American medicine practices. So that shifting point was really the Reiki class. And soon after, as I did start down that medicine path, it was clear to me that, just like some people could be born and at age 3 just pick up a guitar and start playing, whereas other people could just as easily or just as play the guitar just as well, but perhaps they would need lessons. That in the intuitive realms, that was one of my talents. So it was a really natural outpicturing to begin working with clients, and it flowed really easily for me.
Now, what happened with crystals? Can you describe your first experience working with them and what benefits did you see from using them?
Crystals to me are just they're an equivalent of a plant or an animal. They're alive, and I think they're absolutely useful to have around. They do hold emotional and mental energy in a way. I mean, it's not really that for them, but they hold frequencies. And for example, I think like our best bet for crystals is to use rose quartz because it holds that vibration of unconditional love. So that was kind of how I always looked at crystals, and I always keep my crystals and stones outdoors as much as possible because that's where they want to be. Just like I wouldn't bring a wild animal into the house and expect it to just, live in a drawer. I don't expect a crystal to live inside all the time. It's a being that was forged in the earth, and it would probably rather be outside. So that's how I think of crystals. I do use them in the mood book. We talk about different crystals we can use for rituals and things like that to help influence our emotional state. But in my world, then the crystals go back outside. So crystals are great. I think plants, herbs, things like that can have a massive, really huge affect on physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Crystals can have some affect as well, but I think they work a lot more on the emotional and somewhat on the mental level. That's my personal opinion.
Do you think all people can feel the effects of crystals, or does someone need to be more spiritual or more in tune or in touch to feel it?
I think perhaps people need to be a little bit more sensitive to palpably feel it. But I also think our reality is created by what we believe. So if we believe a pharmaceutical pill is going to help us, the possibility will increase. If we believe a crystal is going to help us, the possibility will increase. If we believe an herb is going to help us, that possibility will increase. It's called the placebo effect. So I think, and I'm not saying they don't work, and any of those three things do or don't work, but I think a lot of it has to do with our belief in the way we're viewing our lives. So if somebody's really open to the idea of crystals helping them, then they might be more sensitive as well and feel those effects.
Have you ever seen crystals being used in a healing where there was noticeable results. Like the example I can think of is when I lived at Kerpalu, one of my classmates twisted his ankle and it was like so inflamed. It was you could see the inflammation on the joint, and he had a big big crystal, and he was using it to decrease inflammation, and he felt as though it
Mm,
helped him to walk days before, like he got off his crutches much sooner than expected, and he felt that that crystal, along with the energy work he was doing, um aided him greatly and magnified his healing. Have
mhm.
you seen specific examples of where crystals have noticeably increased healing?
I haven't specifically, no, and that's why I kind of gear them more towards emotional work. But I think that's wonderful, and perhaps, perhaps that crystal, like I said, when we're in deep communion with a plant, a crystal, an animal, there is an exchange of energy, and perhaps it really did help. And maybe he was massaging the area with it, moving the fluid. Maybe it was a cool temperature. There could be so many reasons. So I haven't seen those marked physical affects, but I work a lot more with plants than I do with crystals. So I'm not an expert on crystals. I like them. I included them in the mood book because I think they were valuable for the emotional side of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I wouldn't take my crystal knowledge as the end all be all because I love that story too. That did happen for that person in college, and I've heard of things like that. I've never witnessed it and been specifically privy to it.
Got it. So more around emotional healing or emotional health. What have you noticed? Are there stories of success you can share around implementing crystals that noticeably help people's moods shift?
Yes, I think keeping rose quartz in the environment in the indoor environment with the caveat that it spends, at least 50%, each stone spends at least 50% of its time outdoors, in sun, in moon, in rain, on the earth, really a clear, clean, happy piece of crystal, a clean, clear, happy mineral. I think rose quartz is a really beautiful stone to keep in the home. And I've definitely seen, for example, if we keep two pieces of rose quartz, preferably larger, untumbled pieces if you're able to find some, as crystals in their more natural state, I think generally have a little bit more charge and affect. If we can keep two pieces of rose quartz, for example, in the bedroom, then we have that vibration of unconditional love. And we're also having two things there, which are synonymous with perhaps a couple or romantic love. So if that's something you're trying to bring into your life, or if you are coupled, two pieces of really happy rose quartz, which as a compromise you can keep on a sunlit windowsill so they spend some time in the sun when you don't have them outside as well. I have definitely seen that have a marked affect. There are lots of stones that people do report feeling like their intuition is enhanced by as well. Amethyst is a really common stone. Um, Lots of stones, blue sodalite. I mean, just many of the stones that we hear about do sound like they enhance intuitive abilities as well. So that's another effect I think is potentially potentially helpful as far as crystals. Then we also have grounding stones that are really helpful. Garnet, ruby, smoky quartz, these tiger's eye, like these deeper, more rooted stones that bring the essence of being in the earth inside to us and help us reconnect with that. Because to me, one of the really important things about crystals is it's bringing something from the natural world inside. It's letting us connect with the natural world in different ways. And, just the side of crystals being beautiful and pretty, just like a pretty piece of jewelry, will bring us joy and also elevate our spirit a little bit and our emotions.
What crystal would you recommend for people who want to increase their motivation? Maybe they're working on losing weight or shifting their diet or healing their gut, but they'd like something to help them keep going towards their goal.
Sure. Citrine is a fabulous crystal for that, a really nice stone for that. Golden yellow. Sunstone is also helpful for that. And so both of those stones kind of amplify our will, which is a big part of our keeping our resolve. You know, keeping our will up is keeping our motivation up. And then additionally, to help with focus, um, lots of lots of different crystals can help us focus. Amethyst is an easy to obtain crystal for focus. Uh, any of the tourmalines are really helpful for focus as well. So any of those can be used to help keep the focus. So if you combine a citrine with a tourmaline of your choosing, even better if it's kind of a golden color or something like that, then you can kind of take the will and the focus to keep going and stay motivated.
I like to tell my listeners that I am the biggest open-minded skeptic. So here's my here's my experience around crystals. I was 15 years
Hmm.
old. My family spent every winter in Mexico. We spent about 3 weeks every year in the same place. So by the time I was 15, I really knew this part of it's like just south of Puerto Vallarta called Conscious Chinas. I really know the area. I know all the streets. I've walked them many times. My parents kind of let me be free range growing up. So I'm 15 years old. I know every street. I have a basic understanding of Spanish, and I'm just on my own. I'm having fun, talking to street vendors, and I buy a crystal. It was like a white quartz a little necklace, and not thinking anything of it, I immediately put it on and I keep walking. And all of a sudden, I'm lost. I have no idea where I am. I'm incredibly confused. I'm a little dizzy and lightheaded. And I turn down a street. I get assaulted by a man. I start running. I'm confused. I'm stressed out. I have no idea where I am. I feel out of my body. I think to myself, I mean, the only thing I've changed in the last 5 minutes is I put on this necklace. I take the necklace off. I immediately know where I am and I'm safe. I
Wow.
put it in my pocket and I go, okay, I need to learn more about this stuff. So it turned out I learned that you need to cleanse. You know, when you buy
Yes.
crystals, you basically you're getting, they pick up energy. They're kind of like a battery. They hold vibration, they hold energy. And and so fast forward, I'm 26, and my friend buys me a necklace made by a healer who, she was my Reiki master, and this was her Reiki master, so he created it. And I put it on and I'm immediately drunk and I can't stand anymore. Like I just lost all
Wow.
control of my body. And so I had to work my way up to wearing it because it was so powerful that I could just only just hold it in my hand and then place it back down. I couldn't wear it. So it took me a while to be able to wear it, and then I could only wear it an hour a day or else I'd have detox symptoms. And
Wow.
it was very overpowering, like the energy.
Yes.
So I have a deep respect for crystals, but I'm also kind of afraid of them because I guess I don't know, I'm sensitive,
I can see why. Yes.
but I've also seen people just being surrounded by them and have absolutely no sensation at all. So I it's like some people really pick up on it and some people don't have any effect. Like I know people who douse themselves in essential oils, and then I know other people who could only stand one drop diluted, right? So we have to know ourselves when we're working with plants, when we're working with crystals, when we're working with, you know, all these different modalities, energy work. We need to know who we are, what we resonate with, and also be open-minded enough and willing to just try things on, but start slow, right? Um, so for those who've never worked with crystals, you're saying, go get one, put it in the outdoors half the time. leave it in your room. You're not necessarily saying wear it. Can you give any other advice for those who've never worked with crystals that want to just dabble and explore and open their experience, give themselves a new experience of crystals?
Sure. I think your story is speaking to that sensitivity, and I'm the same as you. I'll sometimes I have certain crystal bracelets. I have a really nice moonstone bracelet I like to wear. I have an aquamarine rose quartz bracelet I'll wear, but I don't wear a lot of crystals myself either. I think in the environment is close enough, and if they aren't super clear because they haven't been outside quite a bit, then I too feel it. So I understand where you're coming from and your story. And so that's what I say to somebody who is exploring crystals for the first time is to work with a gentle type of crystal. Work with a rose quartz, work with a moonstone. Larimar is a beautiful, gentle stone to work with. Citrine is okay too, not overpowering, but still kind of strong. Topaz is a nice stone to work with as well. So any of those, and then before you put it in your pocket, before it's even in your house, it needs to spend some time outside. Let's say you live in the city, perhaps you have an outdoor planter, better than nothing. Out on a table in the sunlight and the moonlight, great. Even better if it could go in your garden or something. I have a tray. Sometimes I put mine on out on the patio because I don't always want to put it out on the lawn and then lose it or something like that. Um, so you always want to make sure you really clear the crystal and have it outside for a few days and nights, getting it clear. Now, let's say you have no patio, you live in a penthouse apartment, and well, not say penthouse. Let's say you live in an upper floor apartment. You don't have a patio, you don't have a yard. What's your next option? The windowsill in the house that gets the most sunlight, the most moonlight, and then you can place the crystal in a bowl of spring water. You can change that out and dry it off and place it in a bowl of salt at some point, sticking out. Um, all different things like that. So you want to clear any crystal for several days before you really bring it in the environment. If it's on that windowsill, that's fine. It's not too close. Don't use the one next to your bed right away. Make sure you clear it first. And then the environment, I think, is a good place to start. Just have them in the house and see how they feel and start to tune into them. And then you can hold one and meditate with it a little bit and see if you notice anything.
What crystals are really good for sleep? Are there ones that improve sleep or improve dreams or protection that you would want by the bed after you've cleared them?
Sure. Smoky quartz is really, really nice for protection. So I always like to advise that. Uh, Larimar is great for dreams. Rose quartz is my top favorite for dreams. Moonstone is lovely for dreams. Aquamarine is lovely for dreams. I tend to gravitate toward the more gentle crystals, and I think that's kind of a good way to start, especially if you're just starting out. Um, Things like sunstone, stone, citrine, those are a little bit too amped up for sleep, I think. Uh, so those are some of the best ones. Additionally, for sleep, like I mentioned, Larimar and aquamarine, beautiful. Rose quartz, beautiful. Jade or emerald is okay for sleep as well. They're very heart centered. Sometimes you find pieces of jade, at stores. If you happen to have a raw emerald, interestingly enough, emerald is derivative of beryl. It's a beryllium based crystal, same substance, different color as sapphire. So they have a
Hmm.
very similar atomic makeup based on a beryllium atom with a bunch of other atoms making up these beryl molecules. So emerald and sapphire, although they have different countenance, emerald's a little bit more about the heart. Sapphire is a little bit more about speaking your truth. Both of those are fine as well for sleeping because they're refined, high vibrational, even if they're a rough crystal, not a polished stone. As long as it's been cleared, those are nice for sleep as well.
Very interesting. Are there any crystals that have been known to mitigate the effects of EMF frequencies or like, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth? Are there crystals that, when in the environment, help to protect us from that?
Great question, and not to my knowledge. I know there are a lot of products on the market that claim to do that. Um, some of them contain, some different crystal compounds and things like that. I can't really endorse any of that. My advice is turn off the phone. I know some people who unplug their Wi-Fi every night, which is kind of a project to have to log back in, but I've considered it. I haven't done it yet. I always tell people to keep all phones out of the bedroom, unplug any chargers that might be in the bedroom, just try to limit some of that. And some people will use a Gauss meter, Gauss meter. It's an introductory way to measure EMFs and magnetic frequencies in your home, and it's great to check that, especially where you sleep. If there's a fuse box in the bedroom or the place where the electric company reads the meters right outside the bedroom on that wall, that can really give you a high reading and better to sleep in another room. So I'm more of a like take the practical approach. I don't know if crystals have the power to deal with our strong waves that we've generated here as a society.
Yes, I agree. Take the practical approach.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so just so you know, there
Mm.
are routers out there that have a on-off switch for Wi-Fi, and
Oh,
so that's what we use. I
I need that.
notice a difference. I actually can feel it. I'll be in the bedroom and my husband will be in the office and he'll turn off the Wi-Fi and I'll immediately feel it. And he'll come in the bedroom. I'll be like, "You turned off the Wi-Fi, didn't you?" And he goes, "Yep." So I can feel it.
Wow.
And when we started this practice, we only turn on the Wi-Fi because we have hardwired desktop computers. Hardwired, just some people don't know what that means. It means the wire is coming straight out of the router into the modem plugs to the router, then the router is what turns Wi-Fi on, but you can also have cables, basically Ethernet cables
Mm-hmm.
from the desktop right into the router. So we have hardwired computers, so we don't really need Wi-Fi unless we're going to turn on the TV or the iPad or the laptop, which we don't
Mm-hmm.
do very often. So we really limit it. But we do not have it on at night, and we only have the Wi-Fi on, or the sauna. We actually have a little iPad thingy in the sauna. So we only turn it on when we absolutely need it, and then we turn it off. And I can feel the difference. And we also notice that we sleep better, and that our son, who's just turned 4, his mood changes
Wow.
greatly. He becomes less rest. He becomes more rested. He becomes less aggressive and less prone to tantrums. Like he just gets sort of agitated if he's surrounded with Wi-Fi for days on end. So we noticed that, and we're very in tune to him and his behaviors, and we just saw that just that one thing, that significantly reducing his exposure to Wi-Fi, improved his mood. So
Amazing.
yeah, you're right. I was hoping that there'd be like, yeah, there's a crystal and just have it
I
in every
wish.
room, right?
I
But
wish. Yep.
but I like that you're taking the practical approach. So we have to, we need to understand that these are tools, and every tool has its limitations, but every tool also has its purpose. And so I want us to understand that crystals are a valuable tool, and they have limitations and they have a purpose. And when we use them the right way, we can benefit our lives. And so, especially for those who are like me, an open-minded skeptic, I'd like everyone who's listening to think about the possibility of where they could enhance their life using a crystal, um, and the other modalities that you teach in your books, because if we can just take these small steps every day to improve every aspect of our life, that's what holistic medicine's all about. So you mentioned a few times clearing crystals. Can you walk us through that? Because I know we've got some listeners who are absolute, they've used crystals for years, but then we've got listeners who maybe have been using crystals and haven't been clearing them, or just had them up on a shelf and never had them out in the sunlight, or maybe we have listeners who've never used crystals. So we're dealing with a lot of different experience levels. So if you could just walk us through, as though we don't know anything about clearing a crystal, why do we need to clear a crystal and how do we do that?
Absolutely. So a crystal is just like a wild animal or a plant. It was forged outside. It lived in the earth, and that is its natural environment. And just like us, if we stayed, and we in theory are used to being inside, but if we stayed inside all day and all night and never went outside, we'd get agitated too. And a crystal will do the same thing. I mean, we're to some degree we're anthropomorphizing it, but it is a living being. So to clear a crystal and to treat a crystal with respect and kindness, this crystal needs to be outside in the sun, in the moon, in the rain, even in the snow, if that's what's going on outside. That's ideally what it needs to experience. It needs to be out on the earth. These things will clear the crystal and let it feel like it lets the crystal gain maximum vitality and charge, if we want to talk about it as a container for energy. But it also helps the crystal itself feel what we would probably qualify as happy or content. And and if we're going to bring that into our environment and perhaps even into our energy field, we want that. And so to clear a crystal, best way to do it is put it outside for 72 hours plus. If you leave a crystal outside for weeks at a time, it's not going to be offended. It's going to be thrilled because that's where it came from. So at least 3 days is the best bet. Like I said earlier, if you don't have a patio or a yard, so you don't have access to any of that, then your next option to clear your crystals is a sunlit and then moonlit windowsill. So that might mean, for example, keeping the shades up a bit to make sure the sun and the moonlight's going to hit the crystal or crystals as much as possible. So one that's facing in, a direction where it's going to get a lot of sunlight, moonlight. A lot of crystals respond well to salt. So if you want to place a crystal in a bowl of salt, it needs to be untreated salt, rock salt, Celtic sea salt, Himalayan salt, Hawaiian salt, all those kind of unprocessed, untreated natural salts, and certain sea salts. And you place the crystal in the bowl, and usually you leave some of it peeking out. You don't necessarily want to bury it and have it, unless you feel like perhaps that crystal would enjoy that if you're connected to it. Otherwise, leave a little bit of it peeking out. Still keep it on that sunlit windowsill. And for that matter, don't keep it next to the Wi-Fi. Don't keep it next to your cell phone. Don't keep it next to the TV. Keep it away from electronics as much as possible. Another way to clear a crystal, all the same things that I just said apply, except utilizing sand or dirt. So if you're able to get some natural untreated dirt, it means you don't want to go get dirt out of a park that's sprayed with pesticides, but if you're able to go out into nature, perhaps in the woods or somewhere in wild nature, and bring some dirt in, that's a fine way to do it too. You can place the crystal in dirt, a little bit sticking up and out. Windowsill is better. Another thing would be to place the crystal in a bowl of cool water, preferably spring water. You can, if you're stuck inside, you could rinse your crystal under the tap water, cold or cool, not necessarily shockingly cold, but cool water. You can also take your crystals on outings. Crystals love to be immersed in lakes and rivers and in the ocean. I use a pendulum sometimes, and I have couple different pendulums. And one of the pendulums came with me on my a trip to Costa Rica, and that was like the happiest pendulum I've ever seen. I would take it in this hot spring at night, a natural hot spring. I went to this absolutely idyllic place and soaked in these volcanic hot springs. And I'd bring the pendulum in the hot spring and kind of swing it around, and it would just be kind of in there. And then I'd take it out and hold it up, and it would circle like orbiting like those swings you would see on carnival rides when they're really going out high. I mean, this thing would be like as far out as it could swing, circling. It was so happy. Same one, and lots of other stones over the years. I would take them to the ocean with me, and they seem to enjoy the sea foam, where the waves are crashing, and that's where maximum ionization is happening. In the wave action, these water and salt, and the water and the sodium and all the different mineral molecules are ionizing, and in my experience, crystals really enjoy that. So you can also, those are the ways you can clear your crystals, but then you can also take your crystals with you sort of on field trips into nature because they love it. When a crystal is clear, if it feels like, if you're in tune with the crystal and you feel like the crystal would be open to it, it's okay to put it in your pocket, or carry it in your hand to take it on these little field trips. If you're going to put it in your purse, try to keep it away from your cell phone, because just like we're harmed by uh, EMFs, or we're not we're not enhanced by them. Neither are crystals. So that's my personal take on it.
I love it. It's like having a pet rock that
Yeah,
heals
exactly.
us. And
Yes, and it's alive. I always say, if you get a pet, that pet is a member of your family. It's not just some, you know, insignificant life form that you just don't pay attention to. If you make the commitment to get a pet, that pet is a member of your family. Same thing. If you have a house plant, that's a living thing. It is a member of your family, and you've taken it out of its natural environment, and it's your job to care for it and make sure it's happy and nourished, maybe, well fed, well watered. And that goes for a crystal as well. If you're going to take a crystal out of its natural environment, then it's your job to care for it with respect, with kindness, and make sure it has what it needs.
very cool. Your book, the mood book, Turn Worry to Peace, Sadness to Joy, Heartbreak to Love, Fear to Freedom, and Lethargy to Vitality. You launched it recently on March 4th. How's it doing? How's the feedback that you're getting from your readers?
The feedback's been great. Yeah, it came out on March 4th, and it's doing really well. Hashtag author life, as they say. Author life is, I do, I think a lot of us check our Amazon rankings periodically. And the mood book's doing really well. It's been, it's actually one of its categories is crystals. It's one of the categories it's under. And it's consistently been in the top 100 in its category, which makes it an Amazon bestseller almost every day since it's come out. It wasn't yesterday, but it's back up today. Yes, I checked.
Awesome. What kind of feedback have you received? Are there stories of success that you can share as the readers have been
Yes,
utilizing your rituals to improve their mood?
yes. Actually, I just got a note on. I'm on Instagram a lot, so I talk to my readers on there a lot, and I just got a note from someone who said that she's been using the bath rituals every night, and she's thinks the meditations and the rituals are enhancing her life so much, and she's sleeping so much better. So that it's really fun to hear those tales from people, for all my books, when they talk about how some idea that I've gotten to share has made a positive difference. It's why I do what I do, actually.
Can you teach us a ritual, like maybe the bath ritual or something that you think will benefit the listeners to practice?
Sure. So in the book, every single chapter, all of those 6 chapters, they all have a bath ritual. So let's see. I'm going to open it up and see. We will do our heart-based bath. So this is a bath to banish feelings of loneliness, and it also is an aphrodisiac bath. So it's good if you want to focus on self-love or you want to focus on romantic love. So it's kind of an all-purpose love bath. Um, and it doesn't really take you through what you would do if you were engaging in this bath with your partner on a romantic level, but it would prime you for that, basically. So, your materials for this ritual include paper and pen or pencil. You can use one or more pieces of the following crystals, pre-cleared, pre-charged from outside, please, if possible. rose quartz, jade, green aventurine, and pink tourmaline. And I will add in that emerald is fine for this too if you happen to have some raw emerald. You will use rose essential oil. You'll find rose oil is either called rose otto, OTTO, or rose absolute essential oil. They're both derived from roses. It's a difference in the process that the rose petals in are subjected to pull the oil from them. And the rose absolute is a little bit more potent, but rose otto is very potent. So I actually list rose otto in the book because it's usually easier to come by. Either one is fine. Jasmine essential oil, and then you would use 4 pink candles, some rose scented soap if you have it, and that would be, your local health food store might have like handmade goat's milk soap or something like that, and that would be the rose one if you see one of those. If not, that's optional. Decaffeinated jasmine green tea and dried hawthorn berry. So those are all your ingredients. If you don't have all of them, it's okay. You can just omit it. So jasmine is a really flowery and delicious variant of green tea. When you get a jasmine green tea, it's green tea with jasmine flowers, jasmine blossoms mixed in with the tea. I have it be decaf because I'm assuming that most people are going to go to bed after their bath. If you're doing this in the morning, you can do it with caffeine if you want. Hawthorn berry is actually an aphrodisiac. It's great in infusions and teas. And so you would brew your decaffeinated jasmine green tea and you'd put the hawthorn berry in as well with it. You can do that in a French press or a pot of boiling water. You can use tea bags. You can throw it in a cup with boiling water and then strain it however you'd like. You want it to be just, medium brew. You don't need to make it incredibly strong unless you like that. If I think the taste is nice. If for some reason it doesn't appeal to you, you could add a little bit of raw honey or maple syrup to that. So you would make your tea and you'll be sipping your tea. And well, I guess as you make the tea, you'll be thinking about mindfully making that, and you'll really want to be, being present to the process and then being present to the entirety of this process. So you don't bring your phone in for this. Ideally you turn it on silent or turn it off. And you set the scene with your candles and dim lights, ideally, and you run a bath. And, as a rule, you kind of want your bath to be pretty warm, but not so hot that it's going to make you sweat. So you kind of have to think about what's the best temperature for you. I kind of like a super duper hot bath, but I tend to get cold, so it depends upon the person. So you run your bath and then you can use your pen and paper and just kind of think a little bit about some affirmations or a statement that you're going to use as a bit of a mantra for this bath, which is focused on unconditional love for self and others. And then it can have an aphrodisiac quality if you choose. So love and romance in all of its forms. So it might be something like I am beautiful, or my heart is open and I enjoy pleasure daily, something like that. I open my heart and allow myself to receive love in all of its forms, something like that. And then you kind of think about that intention, and at that point your bath is filling up, and then you'll put a few drops of rose and a few drops of jasmine in your bath. If you have a essential oil diffuser, you can also do that. And you'll arrange your 4 pink candles in a safe place. You don't want to, have them fall over or anything. So you just kind of, depending upon your bathroom layout. And if you don't have a diffuser, a way to use essential oils is to place drops of the oil in the melted wax. You don't want to place it directly in the flame, but just next to the flame, and that will disperse the smell a little bit as well. You can also place some of the rose oil on the center of your chest and rub that in before and after the bath. And then the jasmine is really great to place on your back over your kidneys. Jasmine essential oil promotes kidney yang, which is libido, and it also helps move the meridian energy in the kidney and thereby move that channel into the lung channel, so that helps us move grief that's stagnant in the lungs. So that's why we use jasmine in this bath ritual. So then you will think about your mantra, my heart is open and I enjoy pleasure daily, or whatever you've decided. I am a pillar of unconditional love, whatever your mantra and intention for the bath is. As you light the candles, and then you can place the gemstones alongside the candles. You can also place the gemstones in the bathtub. And this is where I also invite you to really connect with the stones, hold each stone, and feel yourself ask the stones permission. Would you like to be placed in the tub? Would you like to be placed next to the candles? Would you like to participate in this bath ritual? Rose quartz is great to put in the bath with you. So if you have those are really nice. Then you can hop in the tub and, think about your mantra and just kind of rest and relax. If you have the rose scented soap, you can use that, or you can just, continue to smell the rose oil and sit with the crystals and enjoy your bath. Sit in your bath and allow the unconditional love from the rose quartz to flow through you. Green aventurine is really nice if you are dealing with heartbreak. So you can even place that crystal on your chest if you're really in the throes of that. If you're in a relationship, then that green aventurine will harmonize the relationship, and it is a heart protector. So it'll help you move into compassion instead of fighting. So then you can kind of visualize yourself in a pink glow and look at the candles, allow the pink color of the candles, the flickering light of the candles, the intention from your mantra that you might be just not repeating in any kind of ritualistic manner, but just as your thoughts wander, maybe bringing it back to that, I am unconditional love, or whatever mantra or mantras you'd like to use. And you can gaze at the flames of the candle to allow them to shift your consciousness a little bit as you're focusing on this idea of love and romantic love, self-love, unconditional love. And then when you're ready, bring your awareness back in. If you have your journal handy, you can journal any thoughts or feelings in that journal, and even any messages you feel from spirit or from the minerals and stones. And then as you bring yourself back, when it's time, you can remove the stones from the tub and drain it. Another thing that's really beautiful to add to a bath like this that you would add at the beginning would be rose petals, if they're organic and untreated, of any color. Pink and red would obviously be a little bit more in the love vibration, but any rose holds that vibration of love. So if you had placed rose petals in the bath, you can take the stones out, drain the water as long as your drain isn't too large, and then take the petals out after. If you do that, it's nice to dispose of the petals outside, and sometimes it's nice to dry the petals off and potentially even sleep with them in the bed overnight with you if you're going to go straight to bed, and then place the petals outside as opposed to in the trash.
Very
So
cool.
it's a long ritual.
Yeah, no, but it's like a fun evening ritual, maybe a Friday night, getting wild and getting our rituals on. So how long is this bath typically? Is it really just up to the person? It could be 20 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be
Open-ended.
yeah.
Yeah, open-ended. If you're hot after 15, you're ready to get out, awesome. If you love it and you just want to add hot water over and over for 2 hours, go for it.
Yes. I stay till I'm totally wrinkly, till all my fingers are
Me
pruny,
too.
right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, me too. And it's nice before bed, and then it's a great time to get in bed and journal. And um, I don't know if you practice automatic writing. Some people call it spirit writing. I teach automatic writing in my Meet Your Guides class. That's a great time when you are in the bath or get out of the bath to do your automatic writing with your spirit guides too.
Because you're calm, your cortisol is down,
Yes.
and we're out of that fight or flight mode so we can connect with our heart
Yes.
and listen to our gut, and all the negative chatter in our brain that comes with being in fight or flight is diminished, so we can stop listening to the self-doubt and the worries and start listening to our heart, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And the warm water and the stones and the scents and the flickering candlelight all have the opportunity to not only deepen the relaxation response, but potentially put you in an altered state where your brain waves are more conducive to receiving spiritual guidance.
Now, we have people that come from all walks of life, all religions. This doesn't challenge anyone's belief system. A ritual could, a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, they can all use a ritual to strengthen their belief system and their faith, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It can have the flavor of what you believe, or it can be absolutely neutral.
And so they could take your rituals and incorporate their prayers for
Yes.
protection and healing, they can incorporate, this is just, you're giving them a practice in order to take their spirituality and put it into action.
Perfectly said. Yes.
Very nice. Tell us more about your mood book. So you've covered crystals. You talked about some of the rituals, that every chapter has a bath ritual, which would be fun to go through and try all the different baths.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us more about your mood book and what we'd learn in it?
Sure. Every chapter has a quiz that helps you look at what essential oils would work best for your mood. And and from that standpoint of turning worry to peace, heartbreak to love, sadness to joy, all of that. Then we have that crystals chapter, which we kind of talked about all of that. Then we talk about plants and flowers from an herbal and flower essence perspective that will help with each mood. And then we go into the bath ritual for each mood, which is really nice. And then we go into another ritual, like a whole nother ritual around meditation, mindfulness. It usually contains a yoga pose and things that we can do to turn heartbreak to love, to turn lethargy to vitality, to turn fear to freedom. So then there's a whole non-bath based ritual for each one as well.
Do you have any advice around turning off anxiety, the turning off like the worry, I know a lot of our listeners, wish that there was 30 hours in a day, right? They have so many
Mm-hmm.
things they're doing, and they want to do everything. So there's that pile up of stress and possibly either worry or anxiety. Do you have any information in your mood book on uh, the tools that you best recommend for helping to decrease that stress?
Absolutely. So we have lots of plant-based and herbal tools in there, and also rituals, and we have a restful sleep ritual for that specifically. And we talk about the effects of sleep deprivation, which I actually just read a statistic the other day about 70 to 80% of 18 to 22-year-olds get less than 7 hours of sleep per night, and how damaging that is to our health. That seven is our. Some people say six, but there are studies that prove that there are health detriments even at six. That 7 to 8 is our minimum. And so we talk about different linen sprays you can make with essential oils, and then you have a guided sleep ritual with a yoga pose to help you kind of relax and let go. But the other piece to that with the idea of worry and anxiety is, unfortunately, we're all kind of tethered to our devices pretty much during our entire waking hours. Some people keep the phones in the bedroom at night. There's plenty of articles online trending now about sleep texting. People who receive a text, don't have their phone on silent, have the phone on the nightstand, and then sleep text, sometimes regretting what they've said because they don't remember. So I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but thing one is to remove the devices, keep them out of the room. I think turning them off is helpful, just as far as decreasing some of the, fields and whatnot. And then we talk about the oils that'll help, and also some of the herbal infusions that will help. Basil is actually very calming, and it's an antidepressant, but it also has stress relieving effects. So you can use basil to make a steam for inhalation. It also will help you overcome uneasiness and ease congestion. So it's kind of an interesting and different herb to use. Valerian is an incredibly sedative herb, wonderfully used in a tea, better only used at night before bed because it's so sedative. Chamomile is great all day as an essential oil, as a tea, as an herbal infusion. Any of these things really help. Skullcap is also sedative, great for nighttime. Rose petals have calming and sedative effects, so you can do a rose petal tea, you can do a rose petal bath, as we stated, roses in your environment. Any of these as flower essences. A really wonderful remedy for anxiety is passion flower. It's great in a tea any time of day. It's spectacular as a flower essence, and it's heart opening while also being anti-anxiety. So lots of ways to use passion flower. There have been some studies that also state that it reduces anxiety, like we're saying, and reduces high blood pressure because it has an effect on central nervous system. So just lots of options for those types of things.
I love it.
Many options. Yep.
You're reminding me that when I drink rose tea, I get drunk.
Yes.
I get like giggly and
Yes.
happy, just all basically all the effects of being drunk except for the fact that I can drive.
Yes.
I get just like I don't drink alcohol, but back when I did, you
Hmm.
drink like 2 glasses of wine and you feel so happy and giggly, and all I need to do is drink a few cups um of that rose tea. But you get it. I go to the Asian market downtown Seattle, and they have these places that the only thing they do is sell loose tea, and it's
Love that.
little tiny rosebuds,
Oh, I love that
you
for
know,
tea.
like the size of a almond,
Yes.
basically, these little
Yes.
tiny pink rosebuds, pink and white rosebuds, and they're
Yes.
all dry. And so you just simmer water and then
Yep.
turn off the stove, and then
Yep.
put the rosebuds in there and let it steep for a few minutes. I let it steep I like it strong, so I let it
Yeah.
steep for a good 15 minutes and just let it sit there. And then by that time it's cool enough to drink. My first time ever trying it, I was at a dim sum place off of Yonge and Eglinton in Toronto. Oh my gosh, I was worried I was like, did they put sake in this or something? Like I was worried I wasn't gonna be able to drive. Like I felt that drunk, and it's just amazing how some
Yes,
herbal teas are so strong
they
at
are.
shifting our mood.
Euphoria
Mhm. Mhm.
and relaxation with the rose. And you could take those same rosebuds and sprinkle them in the bath too.
Ooh, I can't imagine like basically
Uh-huh.
soaking
Drink it
in the
in.
tea.
Soak in the tea, exactly. The tea that does that to me the most, I almost can't even drink it. I don't usually buy it, is kava kava
Oh
tea.
yes.
That is so deeply sedative, it almost makes me hallucinate. I mean, it's just a
Mhm.
regular kava kava tea you would buy. It's nothing too outlandish, but that's the thing about getting to know ourselves individually around whether it's herbs, flowers, crystals, everything. You know, everybody is so different. You you might drink the kava kava and say, "Yeah, that's relaxing," but you know, it's fine. And I'm like, "Wow, that was like a deep and deeply relaxing and visionary experience to drink that. Almost too much."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I discovered kava kava as a supplement in high school. I didn't know about the
Mm,
tea at the time, but I did. I was experimenting with all kinds of herbs and teas, and I read about kava kava, so I went and got it, and it really helped me get through high school, like the
that's
antidepressant, you
nice. You
know.
needed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so like just to talk about something as simple as a an herb, of course I could have taken it as a tea now that I think about it. I was doing cat's claw tea at the time. I forget why, but I was experimenting with different herbs for
Mhm.
shifting my mood, all to keep me surviving through high school. And
Absolutely.
so they do. They really you can use herbs in their different forms, whether it's tincture or tea or essential oil. What about live though? So you talk about having crystals in your environment to shift the energy of your environment to improve your mood. What about having plants that are living, not necessarily for ingesting, but just for shifting the energy of your space and holding a space that helps to improve your mood? Do you have any advice around that?
I think that's amazing and just like with crystals, you know, same thing. Speaking to the plants, making sure the plants are in a place with lots of sun, lots of moon, spring water, you know, in my philosophy would be to ask the plants if they would like to go outside for periods of time. I don't actually have house plants because I always feel badly bringing plants inside because I feel like they would prefer to be outside. But I did in one of the places I used to live. I'm a avid gardener, and I had a greenhouse, which so that was inside, and those plants were just spectacularly happy. A trellis wall of nasturtium, lots of lettuces, some carrots that never really were ready to be eaten, but were very happy to be growing. Some really pretty what was that? I'm thinking bergamot because I'm in essential oils mode, but uh, I forget the one of the that'll come back to me. But some just lots of really pretty edible flowers, anyways. And those plants were just gloriously happy because they did get sun and moonlight through the greenhouse, but they were inside because there are a lot of woodland creatures that ate my garden, so that's why I did the greenhouse. So but I think indoor, you know, plants that you bring inside are spectacular. Obviously, they oxygenate the air. They're good for your health. You just want to, you know, treat them with respect and kindness. Again, if you bring a plant into your home, it's a member of your family. So with the roses, personally, I always buy organic roses or flowers. I have a place where I can do that easily accessible, and I know I'm probably going to use them in a bath at some point too. So when I do choose the bouquet, even which is still alive, you know, but it's not in soil, so it's going to have a finite experience. It's already been cut. I do feel like I don't know if I necessarily ask it with words, but I ask it if it wants to come home, and I really quickly show it a picture of, you know, I'm going to put you in a vase in my house and then put you in the bath. Would you like to participate in this? Would you like to co-create this with me? If I feel that that's a yes, then I buy the flowers, basically. So I would go with that rule of thumb also with plants that we bring in the house. You know, we're co-creating their lives with them, and so we need to really treat them with lots of kindness and respect.
How do you listen for the response? So you're listening to your, is it the first answer you hear? Is it more of a gut, like a yes or no? For those who've never
Mm-hmm.
asked items around them whether they want to be part of their life or, you know, help create their space, how do we go about
Mm-hmm.
listening on that level of increasing that level of intuition to be able to hear it?
Great question. I think everybody hears differently. I think that gut yes or no and also the feeling you get from the plant can be really helpful. And if you're somebody whose intuition comes in color, then there might be elements of that. I also, I've done things different ways where I would ask to see a red X or a green check mark if I'm asking a yes or no question. So I might kind of state internally, while I mean, you'd have to kind of have a little space to do this, but kind of state internally while holding the bouquet, here's what I'd like to do. Would you like to do this? Please show me. This is what the no answer would look like, a red X, and this is what the yes answer would look like, a green check mark. So that's another way you could possibly do it. I don't usually do that now, but in other situations I have in the past. For me, it's more of a feeling and a knowing of a yes or no, and it's usually pretty immediate.
Very cool.
Hmm.
Interesting. So I'd love for you to tap into your own intuition. What message do you have for our listeners?
That's a good question too. I think the message is what I share in all of my books is that you are empowered to create your life, and that includes to create and co-create your health. And so my message is to take ownership of that authority and that autonomy. Don't don't give it away to, you know, whether it's a doctor or a practitioner or whomever, don't give it away to the system, to society, to cultural bias, cultural beliefs, your family's beliefs, whatever. Don't give that autonomy away because you are your own guru. And from that standpoint, you can be absolutely a student of life and learn from, infinite myriad sources, but let that inner authority within you, that knowing, come forward and understand that not only do you matter, but that you are the architect of your life and you can design it as you choose. And all of these tools that we talk about in all of my books, whether it's, all the things we discussed today, or mindfulness or meditation or self-compassion or joyful living and all of that, and all of these other tools, everything they listen to, on your show, all of these tools can be used to create the life of your choosing and to optimize your life because you have that power.
Beautifully said. Now, I know that you have a way of teaching us how to figure out what health advice we can trust, or at least what health advice would be beneficial for us to implement. There's so many celebrity wellness trends, for example, right? And so how can we know what you know a detox protocol or parasite cleanse or diet, all these different things that every time we listen to a show or read an article, there might be some opposing information. There might even be opposing scientific studies that don't make sense. How can two opposing scientific studies, like, all of a sudden, how is fat good for us and at the same time fat bad for us, right? So we have all this information. We're an information overload. um and there's some people out there that would really benefit from eating more avocados, and some would benefit from eating no avocados, right? So we have to as individuals sift through this information and figure out what's best for us. Especially, like you said, we're the CEO of our health. We are the guru of our own body. We're the one who knows ourselves the best, but we need to start trusting and listening to our own intuition. So what advice do you have for us when it comes to figuring out what are the best steps that we should take, and how to trust what we hear is the choosing the right, either the right or maybe the not right move for us?
It's a good question. In my medical intuitive practice, I encounter a lot of people who are at that point where they're coming to those questions. They've had different medical advice that hasn't worked or treatments that haven't worked, and that's why they end up coming to me. And I just consider myself as a guide, to open the door to help them find those answers. So one of the ways I like to teach that is through the externalization of meeting your own spirit guides. So teaching people how to communicate with their own spirit guides, which lets you bring some lets you develop the skills in a standardized, repeatable manner to bring some expanded and unbiased views from the non physical world into your life. And so, from that standpoint, as you do open those intuitive abilities more, it also becomes easier to hear your own intuition. So, that's really what we're asking about is how can we hear our own intuition and use that to cut through the noise. It's really different for everybody. Spending time in nature, disconnecting from screens and technology and things like that all go a long way. Meditation absolutely is helpful too, to help people clear their mind. Not that your mind has to be completely clear to hear your intuition, but to help people clear their minds and be able to hear that inner voice from within, that wisdom that does know that your body is a self-regulating and self-correcting wonder, because that's what I see as a medical intuitive every day. So I think those tools can be used to increase intuition, and then sometimes it can be helpful to find trusted people, trusted practitioners, whether it's an acupuncturist. Maybe it's not the first one you try, maybe it's the 10th one you try, but listening to your intuition also to find the resources you need to lead you to whatever wellness you're looking for or whatever outcome you're looking for. So it might also be following those gut feelings and reading certain books, connecting with certain people, asking certain questions, and tuning in. I know when people are experiencing health challenges, it can be incredibly overwhelming. And if you are a researcher, if you are a reader, that's a great place to start and to look at those alternative healing options, learn about all of those different things. In my medical intuitive practice, if I had to pick one herb or one oil or one substance that can help the most people with current health ailments or to prevent future health ailments, it would probably be turmeric in the form of turmeric juice. So in its raw
Mm.
enzymatic form. So that's my sort of general answer to a super specific question, because it's going to be a different answer for every person, how to find that inner knowing and that confidence. But I think the intention to own your life and be sovereign of your life is part of that process as well, and then drawing to you the resources that you need for your own health and well-being, and having the fake it till you make it, to have the confidence and the intuition to choose the ones that will work best for you. And
Mm-hmm.
it's practice for all of us.
Do you have a technique or a tool that you could teach us now to begin to improve our own intuition or begin to improve our own ability to hear our intuition?
It's so individual for everybody. So I would say your absolute best bet is meditation in whatever form you like. Meditation, I think a meditation that would work would be to lie down. A lot of people get distracted by sitting up in meditation, and especially with this one, it would be one where you want to kind of go deep. So to lay down in a comfortable place, perhaps place your hands on your heart and use a mantra like, I allow my inner wisdom to come forward now. And repeat that mantra, not necessarily in a stressful or ritualistic manner, but as your thoughts come up, just, let them float away as if they're on a cloud or they're floating, on a log down a river or something like that. And then repeat your meditation mantra again. I allow my inner wisdom to come forward with ease, something like that. And just practicing a mantra like that, where you're programming your mind, you're programming your being to that idea, to that mantra, to that frequency, letting that happen and relaxing your mind, relaxing your heart, feeling your heart with your hands on your chest, and then letting yourself fall behind that into an inner witness standpoint and using the mantra. Those kinds of things that, even better if you were to do this out in nature, but those kinds of techniques that help us sink deeper into ourselves, let us connect with that intuitive part of us that's already there. What disconnects us from it? Technology, essentially, our phones, our screens, all of it. So put away the phone, put away the laptop, turn off the TV, go outside, lay down in bed, meditate at night before bed, use these techniques, and that's how you let your inner wisdom emerge. And it is a marathon, not a sprint, It's a lifelong process to open and unfold that intuition, whether you're just starting, or even for me, here I am, let's think, 23, 24, 25 years later of conscious, intuitive practice. And there's always more.
There is always more, and that's why I love exploring holistic health, because we will forever be perpetual students, learning and growing and exploring. I feel like we're kind of like in Star Trek, exploring strange new worlds.
Yes. Yes, we're the Galactic Federation.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. Right?
I love Star Trek Next Generation. I don't like the
Yes.
old one. I just like the Jean-Luc Picard
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yes.
And he's such a diplomat. He's so diplomatic and respectful of all species and everything. I think it was very visionary of Gene Roddenberry to create that
Mm-hmm.
show.
Absolutely. And even him as a person,
Yes.
Patrick Stewart is so, his heart is so
Yes.
big, and follow him on Twitter. He's
Oh,
hilarious, and
I love him.
he has such a big heart. Yeah, because sometimes you end up hearing, because I have cousins who are in Hollywood who are actors, and you
Mm-hmm.
hear like what people are really like, after
Yes.
the cameras turn off, and you get really
Yes.
disappointed when you hear your favorite actors like a real a-hole. And then, and then you get really excited when you hear that, who they're just a genuine, like, loving being, and they didn't let their ego get to them, and they're like nice to everyone,
Yes.
doesn't matter who they are, that's Patrick Stewart. So anyway,
So I've also
yeah.
heard. I know. I love him. He's such a neat guy.
It's funny, we can, because I'm such a geek, I can definitely take Star Trek and like look for the lessons, right? And you're
Oh my
right, like,
gosh, me too.
right? And you could just
I'm
see.
a total science fiction nerd, so I love Star Trek Next Generation.
Mm-hmm. And well, and even just as a mind experiment to consider, like,
Yes.
look up at the stars and wrap your brain around the fact that the universe it goes on and on and on. There is no, like, I almost had
Yes.
the, I was in my early 20s, and I was looking up at the stars while lying on my bed when I lived in northern Ontario, and so I could see all the stars, and it was a clear night. And I almost had a panic. It felt like
Mm-hmm.
claustrophobia, but the opposite. I got really
Yes.
panicked because I all of a sudden my brain completely wrapped around this idea that there's no walls. The universe is infinite and it
Yes.
keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going. And it just
Yes.
kind of freaked me out because I'm like, wait a second. Like, because we're so used to walls, we're so used to boundaries and borders and, you know, an understanding of where one thing ends and another thing begins, right? But just this idea of this ever expanding universe and that there's infinite potential, just like in our bodies, right? We have 10 to 10 to the 11th neurological connections, possible potential neurological connections in our body, which is the same amount that every single grain of sand on every beach. That's how many potential neurological connections we have. So there's this like infinite
Yes.
potential outside of us, which so above, so as above, so below. And so you can
Yes.
just see the amazing universe of infinite possibilities outside and then see it reflected on the inside. And it got me kind of freaked out. Right? Like,
I get that.
how do you play small in this world? How do you just like how do you play so small that you only, watch what's on TV
Mhm.
and just like watch the news and watch sports and that's it? Like
Yeah.
how do we figure out how to put ourselves in the smallest box possible when we have this infinite world and infinite potential out there and it
Mhm.
just is amazing, right? So I
It
want to
is.
help people to actualize their infinite potential.
Absolutely. And it's so cool to hear you describe your experience of that because since I was a small child, I felt the same feeling, but I didn't feel the boxed in. I loved it. Like I was like, when can I get off this rock and get out there? That was how I felt. And in middle school, I think middle school or maybe like freshman year of high school, early, um, Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time came out, and the I think it's either the introduction or the first chapter. He takes you through a really beautiful, visceral description of how the Earth is a spaceship hurtling through infinite multiverses in vast infinity. And he describes the speed at which we're moving in an unbounded manner. Although, the Earth is revolving around the sun and all of that, and the solar system is sort of hurtling through the galaxy, but yet it's in the spiral arm revolving around the center of the galaxy, and then the galaxy is in its galaxy cluster, which is rolling through space. It was really illuminating. These were things that because I was a very astronomy focused teen, I had pondered these things, but the way Stephen Hawking put it all together for us really let us feel that their life is constant change. The universe, the
Mm.
multiverses that are endless, they are constant change. Nobody is stationary, and we can pretend we're in a box, but we are not. We are all hurtling through space. And if we expand our view of that as souls, we are traversing dimensions at a breathtaking pace because this incarnation is just a quick blip in the span of infinity where we are present in the where the dimensions of time and space connect for this brief point at this brief time in this brief place, but our souls and our spirits have existed eternally before and will exist outside of this in perpetuity. And so we are infinite and we are existing in infinity.
Beautiful.
That's the reality to me of life. And it sounds like to you too.
Right. And what scared me is how do we stay so small when there's so much big out there?
Yes.
Like what
Yes.
it's I want everyone to tap into their infinite potential. What I was amazed by when I started on my healing journey was that the body has an innate ability to heal itself. And I've watched people heal things like cancer, melting like a snowball on a hot stove, that kind of thing, where people
Absolutely.
like I've shared this story before, but where I had an ankle that was so badly twisted, the doctor said it would have been better if I had broken it because I had
Mm,
torn all the ligaments, and he said I
wow.
wouldn't be able to walk for 2 weeks and then might need like physical therapy. And um that was that morning, and that evening my coworker came over who was a Reiki master, and this was my first experience with healing touch and Reiki. And so I was told I was going to be on crutches for 2 weeks. It was ballooned out. My ankle was just ballooned out. I was maybe about I was either it was I think I was 15 years old. It was somewhere between age 13 and age 15. And she did the work for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and I got up off that couch and started dancing. The inflammation was
Woo!
gone, the pain was
Amazing.
gone, my ankle was healed. I was expected to be on crutches for 2 weeks. I didn't have to use the crutches after that. Like, this is the body has the ability to heal itself, and whether we are tapping into our own potential, whether it's angels and guides, whether it's God, whether it's Jesus, whether it's Allah, whether it's whatever your belief system, we can't negate anything, because who are we to judge, right? But whatever it is that we're tapping into, we have to know that we have the ability to heal. And so when a doctor, an MD, says, "Oh, you're terminal, you're gonna die in 3 months," people
Mm-hmm.
people will have such a strong belief system that they will comply.
Exactly.
And then there are people who, it's like the nocebo effect. They don't believe the doctors, and
Mm-hmm.
they are still alive 20 years from now, right? Even though they were
Yes.
they were supposed to die, how dare they not
Yes.
believe what the doctor said? So we have the ability to heal, and I just want every listener to know that whatever struggle they're dealing with, whatever health struggle, whatever emotional struggle, that like Amy said, we're traversing through this universe at a speed that is almost incomprehensible, and that we too can change that quickly, that we can heal that quickly, that we can shift our mindset, that we can shift our reality, that we're not stuck, and we have this infinite potential inside us, so we can tap into all these resources and use what's around us, the plants and the minerals, and energy work and meditation, and our mindset, and friends and community. We can use so many of these tools to help bolster our goals, right?
Absolutely. And, to add to that as well, from that standpoint of seeing that infinite nature of which we are a part, including the world around us and the universes around us, we can also look to non-attachment to help us with these challenges, because we can absolutely use all of our tools. We're self-regulating, self-correcting organisms, and we can also trust our inner wisdom to understand, if we do take an expanded view that is non-attached, we don't want to suffer while we're here, so we're going to do everything we can to, mitigate our suffering, and to that end as well, to be an aid to the end of suffering for all sentient beings, absolutely. But at the same time, to move into more non-attachment, to be able to loosen our grip from the tension and the anxiousness and the efforting, and step back and allow the self-regulating and the self-correcting and the self-healing to happen. And I don't mean this to sound morbid, but in some cases, does that mean exiting this incarnation and journeying to the next stopover to have the next experience, or efforting, tension, prolonging, being attached, clinging, making it really challenging, and staying longer and suffering more too, in isolated cases. So, and that doesn't always mean when we unattach that we're leaving this planet either, but it means when we unattach a little bit, we allow our inner wisdom to come forward and help guide us. And that's that, it's coming back around to that question you asked about how do we open to our intuition so we can know what to do. We also let go a little bit to let that happen, whatever it brings.
The death of the ego, the
Yeah.
momentary experience of not having our ego be running the show. Yeah.
Yeah. And just relaxing, from all that tension and worry, and instead allowing, moving from active to receptive sometimes can be incredibly healing as well.
I love what you just said, moving from active to receptive. Because
Hmm.
we're the what's that saying? We're human doings, not human beings, right? I mean, if you
Yes,
start being
exactly.
turn off the human doing and be a little bit more human being in the
Yes,
now, and receiving and listening and quieting. Uh, Otherwise, we'll run through this body pretty quickly, right? We'll wear out this
right,
body pretty fast if we're not
right.
turning on receptive mode. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And thinking and doing are wonderfully helpful, and they're how we, advance in our careers and get from point A to point B and move our lives forward in their progress. But then feeling and being are essential to our well-being and to that balance. And, that's the yin and the yang, the thinking and the doing as an active principle, and the feeling and the being as a receptive principle. Ideally balancing each other. So that's something we can strive for as well.
Very cool. Amy, tell us about your other books and your resources, things we should know about you. Can people work with you one-on-one? Do you have online courses? Just tell us all about you and how people can connect with you.
Absolutely. So you can find pretty much everything on my website, amyleighmercree.com. Amy, and then Leigh is Leigh, and Mercree is Mercree.com. And we're in the middle, we're getting so close to a complete redesign of the website. So come see us now, and then come see us in a month and see our completely new design site, because it's going to be awesome. So I have 10 books, 11th coming out in the fall. So those are ways you can find all those on my website, and those are ways that you can connect with me. I work with clients individually. You can find me on the Work with Amy page on the website, where you can book appointments with me for medical intuition, to talk to your guides, all kinds of other things. I also do authorship consulting, because I have written 11 books and counting. Um, you can also find lots of classes that I teach. We only have a couple classes active on the website because, like I said, we're about to launch this whole new site. So when we launch the new site, we'll start the new round of classes, which starts with Meet Your Guides and then moves into an intermediate kind of a Meet Your Guides class. Karmic healing, soul retrieval. We have lots of goddess classes. We have Journey into Multidimensionality as an advanced class. We have Journeying with Planetary Healers, Guides, Guards, Angels is a advanced class as well. So we have lots of live teleclasses. So those classes can be joined anywhere you have a phone. You call into our number, use the pin, you get me live and your group, your community for your class. We usually have like a private Facebook group for your class, and so people can, chit chat on there and stuff like that. And then I'm going to be launching 5 different online classes this year. So keep your eyes peeled for those. Those will all be going live when the site goes live in the next month or so. A bunch of different mindfulness and meditation classes focused on specific things, like meditations and mudras for joint health and concentration, mantras to reduce inflammation, things like that. So lots of fun things like that. And then in the late fall, I will be launching my bestseller boot camp, which is an 8-week program that takes you through the process of creating a book proposal to sell to literary agents and publishers, and all of my tools to do that, because I have been doing that for a long time. I have lots of books and I work with clients individually to do that. And I also have a boutique marketing agency for that. So those are most of my offerings. There's probably more. I do a lot of things. I'm kind of an idea factory, but those are my main offerings. Oh, and I speak around the country as well. So I do have in-person events. Oftentimes, when you check back to the site, you'll find them. And then if people are having conferences or different private events and they like to book me for speaking, I do that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy, for coming to the show. Is there anything that you'd like to say to wrap up today's interview? Or are you receiving any messages for the listeners or for a listener that you'd like to share?
Oh, what a fun question. And thank you so much for having me too. It was great to be here. I actually really would love to bring us back to that idea of peace. And it's so fun that you are a Star Trek Next Generation fan like I am, because that is not something you find every day. Uh, and to bring us back to that concept in of what in that fictional work was called the Galactic Federation, but to kind of step back from that and to think about the fact that our Earth is a tiny speck in one of most likely trillions of planets that could support life, many of which very likely do, and that we are probably in our adolescence as a species. And as we evolve and we become responsible galactic adults, perhaps we will be able to engage with other um, more advanced and most likely peaceful species. And how do we want to evolve as a species? How do we want to bring peace and our human capacity to love, which may be unique? We don't really know yet. How do we want to evolve that and bring that to uh, all of us here on the planet, to everyone in our lives, and to the non physical guides and infinite dimensions that surround us, and then perhaps someday to physical form life forms where we are bringing sort of like, in an idyllic way, perhaps we're bringing this idea of love and our unique human capacity to kind of a United Nations of the universe. And so I bring this up to open our minds, to expand our minds, to open our thinking to greater possibilities, with the whole intent to be expansiveness. And that, yes, you can heal yourself. Yes, you're the architect of your reality, and you're integral piece that matters in an interdependent matrix of consciousness. And discovering how that feels and where you fit and how you'd like to create that experience, perhaps as part of each of our journeys on Earth.
Thank you, Amy. This has been wonderful and very enlightening. I love stretching our minds and getting out of those boxes. And no matter how unboxed someone is, they'll always find that as they explore these thoughts and these realms, that they can find they can find a set of limiting decisions that maybe they've imposed upon themselves in order to release them. So, whatever doubts, self doubts came up, or negative self talk as you listen to this interview, you can begin to see where the limitations that you've set upon yourself and your reality, and what can we begin to question in order to make sure that we haven't imposed limitations upon ourselves that prevent us from healing and from growing and evolving. Thank you, Amy. This has been awesome. And I can't wait to hear back from the listeners in our Facebook group, the Learn True Health Facebook group. Every time we release an episode, we have a fun community chat about the interview. So I look forward to hearing what the listeners, what their takeaways are, and what they loved about the bath. Hopefully some listeners do the bath and then come share with us, and all the other wonderful tidbits. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. It's been great to be here.
Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com, and one of our fantastic True Health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program.